Hello everyone. Today we're leaving the ground behind. Not dramatically, not with a rush or a leap, just gently. Today we're traveling to a place called Yunai, a small village that has always floated above the clouds. No one quite remembers how it got there. The people who live there don't ask. They simply tend their lanterns, pour their tea, and let the sky hold them. You don't need to do anything tonight except lie still and listen. A small confession before we go. I wrote this one on a night when I couldn't sleep either. So in a way, we built this place together. One small thing before we go. If you find yourself coming back to this channel, subscribe, so the next journey is always waiting for you. And if you'd like, leave a comment and tell us where in the world you're listening from tonight. Whether it's a bedroom in Tokyo, a quiet apartment in London, a late night in Sao Paulo, we love knowing where these stories land. You might turn on a fan for a soft, gentle hum in the background and let us begin our journey together. Chapter 1. The Wait Before the Wind. You are lying down. That is the first true thing. Your body is horizontal, and the surface beneath you is solid, dependable in the quiet way that only familiar things can be. You can feel the slight give of the mattress where your shoulders press in, the small hollow your weight has made over many nights. This is your shape. This is the impression you leave on the world when you rest. The room around you has its own temperature. Not cold, not warm. Something in between. The kind of air that doesn't ask anything of you. If you breathe in slowly, you can almost feel it. A faint coolness at the back of your throat. The way night air always carries just a little more stillness than daytime air does. Scientists have noted that the body begins to lose heat from its core in the early stages of sleep. A natural surrender, a releasing of the day's stored warmth back into the room. You are already doing this, without trying, without being asked. Somewhere outside there is wind. It is not close. It doesn't rattle your windows or push under the door. It is the kind of wind that exists at a distance, perhaps moving through trees you can't see, perhaps bending tall grass on a hillside far from here. You can hear it only if you listen carefully, and even then, it arrives less as a sound and more as a feeling, a gentle pressure in the air, a reminder that the world outside is still in motion and that you don't have to be. Your hands are still. Notice them wherever they've come to rest. The left one, perhaps curled slightly near your side, or open and flat against the sheet. The right one, heavier now than it was a moment ago. There is something about hands at rest that changes them. They become less like instruments and more like objects, warm, unremarkable, belonging to no particular task. You don't need them right now. You can let them be heavy. The sheet beneath your fingers has a texture. Run your awareness across it, not your hands, just your attention. The weave of it, the faint warmth it holds where you've been lying. Fabric holds temperature the way memory holds feeling, loosely, imprecisely, but persistently. Your breath moves. In, a slight rise in your chest, or perhaps your belly, lower, slower. Out, a release that takes just a moment longer than the inhale, the way exhales always carry more weight than they arrived with. Some researchers suggest the body begins dreaming before the mind does, a slow tide rising beneath the surface of thought. Images forming in the dark water before the conscious eye closes. You are somewhere in that threshold now, not asleep, not fully here, something in between, which is its own quiet country. The room is the same as it always is, and yet, there is something different tonight. Not wrong, not alarming, only different in the way that a familiar song sounds different when heard from another room. The same notes, a different distance. You can't name it yet, and you don't need to. You only need to notice it, the way you notice the weight of your own eyelids when you stop trying to hold them open. From somewhere, and this is the part you can't quite explain when you think about it later, there comes a smell. Pine, perhaps, or something older than pine. The smell of wooden beams that have absorbed decades of smoke and mountain air and quiet mornings. It doesn't belong to your room. You are fairly certain of that. Your room has its own smell. Laundry, the faint trace of whatever soap you use today, the neutral background of a space that is yours. This is different. This is the smell of somewhere that has stood still for a very long time. Somewhere built high, where the air is thinner and cleaner, and the wood breathes differently. You don't question it. This is worth noting. You simply don't. Instead, you breathe it in. Let it sit in the back of your awareness like a note held low on a cello, barely audible but felt in the chest. Pine and old wood, and something else, something you don't have a word for, something that might be called altitude, if a smell could carry elevation. Outside, the wind is still moving, but it sounds different now, less like the wind outside your window, and more like the wind over open space, the kind of open space that exists above a mountain, where there is no tree to catch it, no building to interrupt it, where it simply moves because it can, clean and directionless, carrying nothing but itself. Your legs are heavy. They have been slowly sinking, you realize, not into the mattress exactly, but through some quality of relaxation that makes sinking the only word that fits. Your calves, your thighs, the backs of your knees, all of it heavy now in the pleasant, indifferent way of things that have decided not to hold themselves up anymore. You don't need to hold yourself up. There is something beneath you. There has always been something beneath you. You just haven't thought about it in a while. The wind comes again, and this time it carries a sound with it. Faint, barely there, the kind of thing that might not be real, or might be the most real thing you've heard all day. It sounds like chimes, not metal chimes, softer than that. Bamboo, perhaps. The sound bamboo makes when the wind passes through it isn't a ring so much as a breath, a wooden exhalation, a note that rises and falls before you can fully hear it. You hold still. The sound doesn't repeat immediately. It waits, the way all gentle things wait. Patiently, without urgency, trusting that you are listening. Your shoulders have dropped. You didn't tell them to, but they have. The small muscles along the tops of your shoulders, the ones that hold the day, that carry screens and conversations and unfinished thoughts, they have released just slightly, enough to feel. The difference between a shoulder carrying weight and a shoulder resting is subtle but not invisible. You can feel it now, the small ease of it. The smell of pine and old wood is still there, and underneath it, something new, barely present, more imagined than real, or perhaps both at once. Something cold and clean and very, very high. The smell of air that has never been breathed before. The smell of altitude. The smell of somewhere that exists above the familiar world. Your breathing has slowed. You may not have noticed when it happened, but it has. The intervals between breaths a little longer. The exhales a little softer. Somewhere in your chest, something that was taught this morning is not taught anymore. Not fixed, not solved, simply resting. Problems don't disappear when we sleep, but they do something almost as useful. They recede. They become the background instead of the foreground, the room behind the room. The floor beneath you feels different. still solid, still there, but lighter somehow. Or perhaps you are lighter. The distinction, if you think about it slowly, begins to blur. When two things change at the same rate, in the same direction, it becomes difficult to tell which one is moving. Perhaps you are. The bamboo chimes sound again, closer this time. Or your hearing has grown finer, which amounts to the same thing. And the wind that carries them is clean and cool, and not quite the wind outside your window anymore. You are still lying down. That is still true. But the surface beneath you has begun, very slowly, very gently, to feel less like something fixed to the earth and more like something that simply rests on it, loosely, the way a leaf rests on still water. Present, unhurried, belonging to no particular place, the smell of altitude drifts through you again. And somewhere above, though above is a direction that has grown strangely soft, strangely open, there is a faint light, not the light of your room, not the light of a screen or a street lamp or any light with a source you could point to, a light that arrives the way warmth does, gradually, from no single direction. You close your eyes a little more. You didn't realize they were still open. The light doesn't ask you to look at it. It simply exists, the way all patient things exist, without demand, without urgency, present only because it is present. You are aware of it the way you are aware of warmth from a window on a winter afternoon. Not a thing you reach toward, a thing that reaches, quietly, toward you. Your jaw has loosened. This happens last, usually. The jaw, the place where the day lives longest, the small muscles along the hinge of it, the tension held in the teeth, the almost imperceptible clench that most people carry without knowing. It is loosening now, not because you commanded it to, but because the body, when given enough stillness, will eventually release what it no longer needs to hold. This is what the body does when it trusts. It lets go of its armor, piece by piece, starting with the farthest edges and working inward, outside, or what was outside, or what you thought of as outside. The wind is steady now. It has settled into a rhythm that has nothing to do with gusts or weather. It is more like breathing than wind, now that you listen. A slow inhale and exhale of the open sky, moving across something vast and unhurried. Mountains, perhaps, or something higher than mountains. Something that has been moving air across its surface for so long that the motion itself has become a kind of silence. You are aware of your own breathing inside that larger breathing, small and slow, and nested inside something enormous. The way a single instrument sounds inside an orchestra, present, individual, and yet held by something much larger than itself. You don't need to breathe differently. You don't need to breathe better. Your breath is already doing exactly what it needs to do, and it has been doing this without your help for as long as you have been alive. That is worth resting in for a moment. The floor beneath you. You return to it, or it returns to you. The distinction has grown soft. It is still there, still carrying you with the same indifferent faithfulness it always has. But there is something in the quality of it now that is difficult to name. A lightness in the heaviness, a sense that what lies beneath you is not merely solid ground, not merely wood and tile and subfloor and the earth underneath, but something that has chosen to hold you, something that holds you not out of obligation, but out of a kind of slow, structural tenderness that very old things sometimes carry. You have been held your whole life by surfaces, by structures, by the ground beneath every house you've ever slept in. You've never once fallen through. You've never once been unsupported. And yet we rarely think about this. the profound, wordless reliability of the floor. Some traditions describe the earth not as inert matter, but as a patient presence, a thing that has been receiving the weight of sleeping bodies for as long as bodies have needed rest. Tonight, you feel that. The bamboo chimes again, and this time the sound comes from above, clearly above, and it is beautiful in its simplicity. 3 notes, or perhaps only 1 note in 3 positions. Then quiet. Then the wind again, and in the wind, something you didn't notice the last time it passed. A scent that is floral but cold, the way some high-altitude flowers are, blooming briefly in thin air where nothing is expected to grow, small and pale and extraordinarily alive. Your eyelids are still now, not pressed shut, simply still. The difference between holding something closed and something that has settled into its own rest. There is no effort in them anymore. They have forgotten what effort feels like. The light above is still there, golden and directionless, and the smell of pine and altitude and those small impossible flowers is woven through the air around you, and the wind breathes its slow, enormous breath, and the chimes answer it with their soft wooden voices. And somewhere in the middle of all of this, you are not quite where you were, not gone, not asleep, not anywhere that has a name you could write on a map, but no longer entirely in the room either, no longer entirely in the day. You are in the threshold, that quiet, ungoverned place between here and somewhere else, between now and whenever sleep finally arrives to complete what stillness has begun. The surface beneath you is holding you. It has always held you. You don't need to know what it is made of tonight. You only need to let it. Chapter 2. The Mist That Knows Your Name. You are standing. This is the first thing you notice, not with surprise, not with the jolt of someone who has been moved without their permission, but with the quiet recognition of someone who has simply arrived somewhere. You are standing, and the standing feels natural, and you don't question it the way you might question it if you were more awake. Being more awake is not something that interests you right now. You are here. That is enough. Beneath your feet, there is cloud, not the cold, damp thing you might imagine, not the grey, turbulent mass of a storm seen from an airplane window. This cloud is different. It is dense in the way that very old snow is dense, compacted by its own slow weight into something firm enough to stand on, and yet it gives slightly with each breath you take, as if it is breathing too, as if the whole surface beneath you is a living thing, resting, its chest rising and falling in an interval so long you can only perceive it if you stand very still. You stand very still. The mist around you is white, but white is not quite the right word. White implies absence, the color of something that has nothing to say. This is not that. This white is full. It is the white of something luminous from within, of first light on fresh paper, of the inside of a shell held up to a bright window. It doesn't blind you. It doesn't press against you. It simply surrounds you with a softness so complete that the edges of things, your hands, your arms, the space where you end and the air begins, have become suggestions rather than certainties. This doesn't worry you. Some part of you registers that it perhaps should, and that part is very small, and it is receding, and you watch it go without grief. The mist is warm. This surprises you more than anything else. That warmth. You expected cold. You expected the particular chill of high places, the way altitude scrubs the air of its comfort and leaves behind only clarity. But this warmth is real. It settles against your skin the way a room settles after someone has been sleeping in it for hours. inhabited warmth, the warmth of a place that has been loved for a long time. And there is a smell in it, now that you are paying attention, something dry and smooth, like old silk that has been stored in cedar, like linen left to warm on a hearthstone, like the inside of a chest that has held good things for many years. You breathe it in. There is nowhere to be. There is nothing to remember. There is only this breath and this warmth and the slow give of cloud beneath your feet, somewhere to your left, or what might be your left, in a place where directions have become approximate. You hear something. It is the sound of bamboo chimes, but different from before. Before, the sound was far away, a whisper carried on a distance. Now it is nearer, still not close, but nearer in the way that a familiar voice is near even when it speaks from another room. You know this sound now. You have been following it, perhaps, without knowing you were following anything. The chimes speak in their soft wooden language, 3 tones, or perhaps 1 tone in 3 moments, and then the mist absorbs them, and they are gone. And the silence that follows has the quality of something that was always there, waiting patiently beneath the sound. You take a step. The cloud beneath your foot accepts your weight with a slowness that is extraordinary, not sinking, nothing so dramatic, more like the way a good mattress receives a sleeping body, distributing the weight across its entire surface so that no single point bears too much. You take another step. The mist shifts around your ankles, not clinging, only moving the way water moves in a still pool when something passes through it, gently, with the long, unhurried memory of undisturbed things. You are walking, not toward anything in particular, not away from anything, simply walking in the way that walking becomes when it is no longer about destination and becomes instead about the fact of motion itself, the pendulum of your legs, the quiet work of your arms, the slow metronome of your own breath, keeping time with your steps. Some philosophers have written that walking is the most honest form of thinking, that the rhythmic alternation of weight and release, left, right, creates a kind of biological metronome that quiets the more anxious functions of the mind. You feel this now without knowing the theory of it. You feel it in the way that the movement smooths something out in you, the way a hand smooths a crumpled page. The mist ahead of you shifts, and in the shifting, you see something, a figure, or the suggestion of a figure. Not close, not alarming, the kind of presence that exists in peripheral vision and becomes, when you look directly at it, simply part of the landscape. But you can see, or you believe you can see, the dark outline of someone walking ahead of you, not rushing, not pausing to wait, walking at the same pace you are walking, as if they have always been there, as if they were always going to be the one you followed, as if the whole of tonight's journey has been arranged around this simple fact that you are not alone here and you never needed to be. Their coat, if it is a coat, if what they are wearing deserves that ordinary word, moves in the mist, long and pale, the color of cloud itself, the hem of it drifting slightly with each step as though the air around them is in quiet conversation with the fabric. You can't see their face, you can't hear their footsteps, you know only the slow drift of that pale hem and the easy certainty of their direction, and it is enough. You follow, not because you must, not because you are lost, but because some things are worth following, simply for the quality of their motion. Some people walk as if they know where they are going without needing to hurry. Some people carry stillness with them the way others carry noise. This figure is like that, and in following them, some of their stillness transfers to you by proximity, by the simple physics of two calm things existing near each other. The cloud beneath your feet has changed texture, thicker now, richer, like walking through deep grass at dusk. That slight resistance, that sense of the world pressing back against you with the gentle insistence of a place that is very much alive. Your steps are slow. Your steps have always been slow tonight, but they are slower now, and this is right. This is the correct speed for a place like this, a place where slowness is not a failure, but a fluency. Above you, the mist is thinning, only slightly, only enough to suggest that something exists beyond it. Not stars, not exactly, but a quality of depth, the faint topography of higher and lower that you feel even through closed eyes, even through the even, all-encompassing white. Something is up there, something warm and amber, and belonging to no particular hour of the day, the kind of light that exists in certain paintings. Old ones, the ones where the light seems to come from inside the canvas rather than from any depicted source. You tip your face upward. The mist touches your cheeks. Warm, smooth. It moves across your face the way good sleep moves through the body, gradually, from the outside inward, from the surface down to where things are deeper and less translucent. In certain coastal cultures, there is a tradition of walking into morning fog, not to see where you are going, but to be seen by it, to let the fog know you, to be recognized by something that recognizes everything it touches with the same perfect impartiality. The mist knows you tonight, not your name, not the particular inventory of your days and decisions, nothing as specific as that, but the shape of you, the weight of you, the temperature you are running, and the pace of your breath, and the particular quality of your tiredness, which is different from anyone else's tiredness, which is yours. It knows all of this the way water knows the vessel it fills, completely, without judgment, without preference. Ahead, the figure is still walking. Their pace has slowed, almost imperceptibly, or perhaps you have sped up, or perhaps the distance between you has simply remained what it is, comfortable and constant, the right amount of space between a guide and someone who is being gently guided. The mist parts slightly where they walk and closes again behind them, and in the part of it that is open, you can see more light, amber now, warmer. The quality of it has shifted from the neutral luminescence of the mist to something richer, something that belongs to a specific time of day in a specific place that has a specific relationship with light. The light of lanterns, perhaps, the light of windows in the early evening, when the people inside have lit their fires and the warmth has made the glass glow and the glass has made the evening outside look for a moment like a painting of itself. The bamboo chimes sound again, and this time they are close enough that you can almost feel the vibration in your chest. 3 tones, a pause, then a single tone, low and long, the kind of tone that a very large bamboo makes when the wind catches it at exactly the right angle, a tone less heard than absorbed, less sound than sensation. Something above the mist is glowing, not one thing, many things, scattered points of amber warmth, arranged not in a line or a grid, but in the loose, organic clustering of a place where people have built their lights according to where they needed them, rather than where a plan said they should go. The lights of a village, not bright, not demanding your attention, simply there, the way lights have always been there in windows when you come home after a long journey, not announcing anything, only confirming that somewhere warm is waiting. The figure ahead of you slows, turns, not to look at you, or perhaps to look at you in the way that peripheral vision perceives a turned face, which is to say, present but unclaimed, belonging to no particular expression, only presence, a gesture perhaps, the slight incline of a head toward the lights above. You look up. The mist is parting, not dramatically, not with any rush or revelation. Slowly, the way curtains part in the early morning when someone opens them one-handed, still half asleep, letting the light in without ceremony. The cloud is thinning overhead, and through the thinning you can see clearly now the warm and scattered lights of something resting on the clouds above you. Rooftops, dark wood, pale at the edges, a roofline that curves slightly at its ends, the kind of architecture that has evolved to let rain fall away rather than accumulate, the kind that knows something about living with weather rather than against it. A bridge, narrow, made of something you cannot quite identify from this distance, something that sways very slightly in the wind, the way all honest bridges do, and from somewhere up there, carried down by the same warm air that has been accompanying you since you first arrived in this place, the smell of smoke, not burning, not alarming, hearth smoke, cooking smoke, the smoke of a fire that has been burning steadily in the same fireplace for a very long time, that has absorbed into the walls and the beams and the floorboards of a home until it is indistinguishable from the home itself. You breathe it in. Your feet have stopped, not because you have decided to stop, only because the body, when it is given something worth looking at, sometimes chooses stillness without consulting the mind. You are looking up. The lights are warm. The rooftops are dark against a sky that is the deep amber of somewhere that has its own private understanding with sunset. Behind you, the mist closes softly. Ahead, the figure has already gone, not vanished, not fled, simply moved on in the way of all patient guides who trust that those they lead will follow when they are ready. And you are ready, or you are close to ready, or readiness is not quite the word for this feeling, which is softer than readiness, which is something more like surrender, the way a hand opens when it decides finally to let something go. Above you, the village waits. The chimes sound once more, close now, intimate, the sound of something belonging to a home. You begin to climb. Chapter 3. The Village of Yunai. The bridge is narrower than it looked from below. Not uncomfortably narrow. Not the kind of narrow that makes you press your arms close to your body and watch your footing with anxious eyes. The kind of narrow that asks for your attention in the same way a quiet conversation asks for your attention. Gently, without insistence, simply preferring that you be present for it. You place your hands on the ropes at either side. They are woven from something you don't recognize. Not hemp, not wire, not anything you have a name for. They are smooth and slightly warm, and they give just enough under your grip to let you know they are real, and they hold just enough to let you know they will not fail you. You take the first step. The bridge moves, a slow, easy sway, the kind of movement that is less about instability and more about honesty. Honest structures move. They admit that the wind exists, that weight has consequences, that nothing is perfectly fixed in a world where air is always in motion. The bridge sways and you sway with it, and within 2 or 3 steps, you have found its rhythm, which is the rhythm of your own breathing if you let your breathing set the pace, and you do. Below you, the clouds extend in every direction. You look down only once, not with fear, only with the particular amazement of someone who has accepted the impossible and found it, on close inspection, to be very beautiful. The clouds below are the color of old cream, deep and layered, catching whatever light this place carries in the folds of their surfaces. They go on as far as you can see, which is not as far as a clear day, but far enough to establish that the village above is truly above, truly separate from the world you climbed from, truly a place that has found its own relationship with altitude and decided to stay. You look back up. The village is close now. The first thing that reaches you, before the sight of it, before the sound of it, is the smell. The hearth smoke you caught a trace of while still in the mist has deepened into something more complex now that you are nearly inside it. Wood smoke, yes, but layered over with something sweet and warm. The smell of something being ground or roasted, something with the particular richness of a spice that has been used in this place for so long, it has become part of the air itself. Cinnamon is the closest word, but it isn't quite cinnamon. It is cinnamon's quieter, more patient cousin. A smell that doesn't announce itself, but simply exists, background and ever-present, like the smell of the sea in a coastal town. And under that, faint but real, beeswax. The smell of candles that have been burning in the same rooms for a very long time, absorbed into curtains and cushions and the grain of wooden furniture, present even when no candle is lit. It is the smell of tended things, cared for things, a home that has been inhabited with attention. You step off the bridge and onto the village platform. The ground here, and ground is still the right word, even though what lies beneath the platform is cloud, is made of wooden planks, wide and dark with age, worn smooth in the centers where feet have passed for many years. The worn paths tell you everything about this village before you have seen any of it, where people walk in the mornings, which routes are taken most often, which corners are turned daily, and which are approached only sometimes. You are standing in the middle of one of those worn paths now, which means you are standing in the middle of a life, the accumulated motion of many mornings and many evenings pressed into wood. The village opens before you. It is not large. It was never meant to be large. The buildings, and they are buildings, with walls and roofs and windows that glow amber in the early evening light, are arranged not in rows or grids, but in the loose, conversational clustering of a place where the buildings have grown up together, where each new structure was placed with some awareness of the ones beside it, angled slightly to allow a view of the clouds, positioned to share the warmth of a neighbor's wall. The architecture is low and wide eaves, the roof lines curving gently upward at their ends, in a gesture that might be described, if you were being poetic, as a kind of perpetual smile. The walls are pale, whitewashed, or perhaps naturally that color, the color of birch bark or weathered limestone. Against them, the dark wood of the beams and shutters is very precise, very clean. Vines grow along some of the walls, but carefully. Not the untended riot of plants left to do what they like, but the deliberate trained growth of plants that have been guided by someone who understood where they wanted to go and helped them get there. From a window above you, warm light spills onto the planking at your feet. You stop and look at it. The rectangle of light, amber-edged, domestic. Inside, you can see the slight movement of a shadow. Someone moving in a kitchen, perhaps, or a workroom, moving with the unhurried ease of someone who has finished the significant work of the day and is now in the pleasant, minor work of evening. The shadow moves and then stills and then moves again, and there is something in watching it, something you haven't felt in a long time. The profound comfort of knowing that another person is nearby, simply living, not performing, not requiring anything of you, simply present, warm, somewhere close. Anthropologists have noted that many highland cultures built their most sacred spaces at altitude, as if height itself was a form of silence, as if the act of ascending was a preparation for something that could only be received in the body's most attentive state. Standing in this village now, surrounded by the soft amber of its windows and the smell of its ancient smoke and the low, patient sound of its daily life, you understand this without being able to articulate it. Something about being high above the familiar world makes the familiar things more vivid. A lit window, the smell of food, the sound of someone moving in a nearby room. At sea level, these are ordinary. Here, they are extraordinary, in the way that all essential things are extraordinary when you finally slow down enough to notice them. You walk deeper into the village. The alleys between the buildings are narrow and pleasantly dim, lit at intervals by lanterns hung at head height. Not the floating lanterns of the evening, those come later, but small, steady lanterns with glass panels fogged slightly by condensation, the flames inside barely visible, burning low and orange and committed. The light from them falls in soft circles on the wooden planking, circles that overlap slightly where the lanterns are close together and leave darker intervals between them where the cloud light fills in, softer and bluer, and belonging to the sky rather than any fire. Your footsteps are quiet here. The wood absorbs them. Or perhaps you are walking very softly. You aren't sure which, but the effect is the same. You move through these alleys with the near silence of someone who belongs here, whose weight the village already knows, whose presence requires no announcement. You pass a doorway, half open. Inside, a low table, 2 cushions, a clay pot sitting on a small iron stand above a flame so low it is more suggestion than fire. 2 cups already placed, steam rising from the pot in a thin, unhurried line, bending slightly at the top where a draft you can't feel reaches it. The room beyond is warm and spare, a shelf with a few objects, a piece of cloth hanging on a wall, the kind of cloth that was made by hand and is beautiful in the precise, undecorated way of things that were made to be used rather than admired. A single window, curtained in something lightweight that moves in a breath of air, showing a rectangle of cloud sky beyond. You don't go in. You don't need to. The doorway is enough. The glimpse of it is enough. The way glimpses often carry more than full views, the way the edge of a thing is sometimes more moving than its center. You continue walking, at the center of the village, and you find it without looking for it, the way the center of anything makes itself known if you move through it slowly enough. There is a small square, irregular in shape, bounded on 3 sides by buildings, and on the 4th by a low stone wall, beyond which the clouds begin. In the center of the square, there is a well. You approach it slowly. The well is old, older than anything else in the village, or it has the quality of oldness, the particular density of something that has been in one place long enough to have become part of the place itself. The stones of it are dark and smooth, worn not by water, but by hands. Many hands over many years, resting on the edge as people look down. You rest your hands on the edge. You look down. The well is full, but not with water. Inside, drifting slowly, in a gentle circular motion that has no visible cause, are clouds. Small, contained, softly luminous. The same quality of light as the mist you came through, but miniaturized, domesticated, turning slowly in the darkness of the well with the unhurried patience of something that has been doing this for a very long time and will continue doing it long after this evening is over. You watch them turn, one rotation, then another. The clouds in the well catch the light from the surrounding lanterns and hold it for a moment before releasing it, dimmed and gentled, back into the air. There is no sound from the well. There is no wind here to explain the rotation. The clouds simply move as clouds have always moved, because movement is what they are made of, because stillness was never in their nature, because even in the smallest and most enclosed space, a cloud will find a way to drift. You straighten up. From somewhere across the square, behind one of the buildings perhaps, or perhaps from one of the upper windows, comes music. It arrives so quietly that you aren't sure when it began, only that it is there now and was perhaps there all along, beneath the other sounds, waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. A stringed instrument, something with a low voice, something resonant and unhurried. The kind of instrument that doesn't play melodies so much as it explores tones, each note given enough space to fully exist before the next one arrives. The music doesn't resolve. It doesn't build toward anything. It simply moves, slowly, the way the clouds in the well move, with the calm authority of something that has always known its own nature and has never felt the need to explain it. You stand in the square and listen. The evening light, and it is evening now, definitively. The sky above the cloud layer, gone deep amber and rose at its edges, though the sun, wherever it is not visible, falls across the square at a long flat angle, catching the grain of the wooden buildings, the curve of the well's edge, the gentle movement of the lightweight curtain in the open window above you. A cat is sitting on the low wall at the edge of the square, grey, compact, with the particular self-possession of cats that have lived in one place for a very long time and know it completely. It is looking at you, not with the narrow assessment of a wary animal, but with the calm, half-lidded regard of something that has decided you are acceptable. Its tail moves once, slowly, at its tip. Then it looks away. You look where it is looking. Out over the wall, out over the edge of the cloud platform, out into the open sky, where the clouds below are now going the color of old roses, of amber, of every warm thing at once. The light is extraordinary, not because it is dramatic, not because anything is happening, but because it is so purely itself. Light at the end of a day, doing what light at the end of a day does, which is to show everything at its most essential. A cloud is most perfectly a cloud in this light. A wooden wall is most perfectly itself, and you are most perfectly at rest. From behind you, very faintly, comes the smell of the tea you saw in the open doorway. Still steeping, still warm, still waiting with the patient reliability of something that was prepared for a guest who arrives, not on a schedule, but exactly when they are ready. You think you might go back for it, in a moment, in a little while. For now, you stand at the edge of the village and look out at the sky that holds it, and the sky looks back at you with its amber, impartial warmth. And the cat sits on the wall between you and the open air, and the music from somewhere unseen continues its slow, unresolved exploration of low notes and long silences, and the bamboo chimes answer the wind once more from somewhere above the rooftops. And all of it, every sound and light and smell of it, settles over you like something being carefully placed. Chapter 4. The Evening in Yunai. You go back for the tea. The doorway is where you left it. Half open, warm at its edges, the light inside unchanged. Nothing in Yunai seems to change while your back is turned. Things simply wait. They wait with the particular patience of a place that has learned, over a very long time, that there is no reason to hurry. You push the door open a little wider with the back of your hand and step inside. The room is small and warm. The ceiling is low, not oppressively so, only enough to make the space feel gathered, collected, like cupped hands. The beams above are dark and smooth, and between them, the plaster is the color of old cream, slightly uneven where it was applied by hand long ago and never thought to need correcting. A single lamp burns on the shelf, oil, not flame, or something between the two, something that produces a light steadier and more amber than any candle, a light that doesn't flicker but breathes. The clay pot is still on its iron stand, still steaming. You cross to it and pour, carefully, both hands on the pot, the way you were taught to hold heavy things as a child. And you were taught correctly because the pot is heavier than it looks. The tea comes out the color of late afternoon, amber with the faintest rose at its edges, and it carries the smell of something you recognize before you can name it. Chrysanthemum, perhaps, or the cloud altitude equivalent of chrysanthemum, something floral and dry and very faintly sweet, something that opens in the warmth of the cup and then continues opening, slowly, the way a room opens when you've been sitting in it long enough. You carry the cup to the doorway. There is a step there, a wide, low step, half inside and half outside. The kind of threshold that was built for exactly this, for sitting in the between. You lower yourself onto it. The wood is warm from the day, or warm from the people who have sat here before you over many evenings, which amounts to the same thing. You settle your back against the doorframe and hold the cup in both hands and look out at the village evening. The lanterns are coming up. This is the only way to describe it. Not lit exactly, not turned on by any visible hand. Simply coming up, the way stars come up, gradually asserting themselves against the dimming sky. They are paper lanterns, round and warm-toned, in the colors of things that glow from within. Amber, pale gold, the particular ivory of old bone. And they are not hanging from anything. They float, each one resting at its own height, some at shoulder level, some higher, drifting in the barely perceptible currents of the evening air, with the slow, purposeless grace of something that has long since made its peace with having no fixed position. They move, but gently, only gently, never rushing, never colliding, correcting their paths with the quiet intelligence of things that understand how to share space. You watch one drift past the edge of the porch, close enough to see the shadow of the flame inside it, the slight pulse of the light as the air shifts. It smells faintly of the paper it is made from, that particular smell of rice paper, clean and faintly sweet. And then it is past, and the next one arrives in its place, and the next, a slow procession of warm lights moving through the village evening with no particular destination and no particular hurry. The music is still playing. It was there when you came back for the tea, and it is still there now. And you realize that in all the time you have been in Yunai, you have not identified its source, have not been able to say with certainty which building it comes from, which window, which room. It seems to emanate from the village itself, from the collective warmth of it, from the space between the buildings where the sound can collect and pool. A low-stringed instrument, patient and unresolved, playing notes that begin and then continue beyond themselves, that fade not into silence, but into the next note, which fades into the next, so that the music has the quality of a single continuous sound that has simply chosen for this evening to express itself in sequence. You take a sip of tea. It is the right temperature, not too hot, not cooled, as if it has been waiting at exactly this warmth for exactly this long, which perhaps it has. The flavor is quiet. That is the best word for it. A flavor that doesn't announce itself, but simply inhabits the warmth, the way a good room inhabits its furniture, the way a life inhabits its years. You hold it for a moment before you swallow. You let it be. The wind comes, a single slow pulse of it, moving through the village from the east, or what feels like east in a place where directions are approximate. It carries cold on its leading edge, the particular cold of high places, and behind the cold comes the smell. Rain flowers. That is what you call them, though you don't know if they have a name. The smell of small pale flowers that only bloom when it has been raining at altitude, that open in the thin air above clouds, and close again when the rain passes, that last for half an hour or an afternoon, and leave behind a smell that lingers in the air like an after-image, floral and cold and impossibly delicate. Behind the flowers, the sound of dry leaves, not the violent scatter of leaves in an autumn storm, but the small personal sound of single leaves letting go, a sound that is mostly silence with a leaf in it, the sound of a season completing itself without complaint. The wind passes. You pull your knees a little closer to your chest. The evening has dropped, not dramatically, just enough to make the warmth of the cup more valuable, to make the light inside the room behind you more inviting, to remind the body that it is a warm-blooded thing and that warmth requires, from time to time, a small act of conservation. You are not cold. You are simply aware of the difference between inside and outside in a way that makes inside feel deliberate, chosen. The grey cat arrives. You half expected it. It comes from the direction of the square, unhurried, its paws touching the wooden planking with the practiced near silence of an animal that has lived its whole life in a place where quiet is valued. It stops at the foot of the porch step and looks at you. The same calm, half-lidded assessment as before. The look of something that has already decided its position on you and found it satisfactory. Then it steps up, crosses the porch, and settles on the railing at your right. You look at it more carefully now in the lantern light. It is a grey cat, a particular shade of grey, the grey of morning fog, the grey of the underbelly of a cloud. Its fur is slightly long, slightly soft-looking, moving in the faint draft, the way the lightweight curtains moved earlier. It is sitting on the railing with the composed confidence of a cat entirely at rest. And then you notice, its paws are not touching the railing. There is a gap, small, perhaps 2 fingers wide, perhaps less, between the wood of the railing and the pads of its feet. The cat is sitting on the air beside the railing, precisely at the height of the railing, in the exact posture of a cat sitting on a solid surface, but the surface is not there. It simply sits. It does not fall. It does not appear to be making any effort to not fall. It is sitting on the air the way the lanterns float on the air, with the calm matter-of-factness of something that has no reason to obey the rules of a world it does not entirely belong to. You don't startle. You notice, and then you let the noticing settle. And after a moment, the cat's minor impossibility becomes simply another quality of this place, another thing that is the way it is here and doesn't require explanation. You return to your tea. The cat remains where it is, looking out at the lanterns. 2 things, resting. The music shifts, not dramatically, a half step, a change in register, something that moves the sound from the range of late afternoon into the range of full evening. The notes are lower now, longer. The silences between them have grown. Each note is given more room than before, room to exist fully, room to complete itself, room to become silence before the next note decides to arrive. The music is slowing down. Everything is slowing down. This is the nature of evenings in Yunai. You are beginning to understand, not a shutdown, not the abrupt closing of a day that is finished with you, a gradual consensual dimming, a village breathing out. The lanterns drift more slowly now, or they seem to. Their motion is so gentle that the distinction between moving and still has begun to soften. The light they cast has deepened, gone more amber, the kind of amber that exists in the last 10 minutes before the day fully releases its grip on the sky. Your hands are warm around the cup. Your shoulders are low. The back of your neck, that tight, persistent place, the place that carries what the shoulders cannot, has released slowly over the course of this evening. Until now, there is very little tension left in it. Whatever it was holding has been quietly set down somewhere along the way. You didn't notice when. It doesn't matter when. The cat turns its head, looks at you once more, briefly, with those half-closed eyes, and there is something in the look, something you don't try to translate, only receive. Then it looks back at the lanterns. The wind comes again, softer this time. Almost no cold in it now. Only the flowers, only the faint dry whisper of a leaf somewhere letting go. Your eyes are heavy, not in the way of tiredness that fights itself, not in the way of someone trying to stay awake and losing, in the way of something completing, in the way of an evening that has given you everything it had to give and is now, gently and without ceremony, suggesting that you have everything you need. The tea is nearly finished. The lanterns drift. The music plays its low, unhurried notes into the dark between the buildings, into the warm air above the clouds, into the quiet that has been gathering since you first arrived here and is now so complete that sound itself seems to move through it carefully, the way you move through a room where someone is sleeping. The cat does not move. The railing holds nothing but air, and the air is sufficient. Somewhere in the village, a door closes softly. Not shut, only closed. The sound of someone choosing, without drama, to be inside. You think about going inside. You think about it the way you think about things at the edge of sleep, loosely, without urgency, the thought arriving and resting in you like a leaf on still water, not sinking, not floating away, just resting. Chapter 5. The cloud beneath you. You are lying down. You don't remember deciding to lie down. You don't remember the movement of it, the setting aside of the cup, the shift from sitting to reclining, the moment when the porch became a place to sleep rather than a place to sit. It simply happened, the way all necessary things happen when you stop supervising them. Your body knew before you did. Your body has known all evening, has been moving toward this, unhurried and certain, the way water moves toward the lowest place, not because it chooses to, but because that is its nature. You are lying on cloud, the porch, the step, the wooden planking. At some point, these have given way to something softer, not dramatically, not with any sense of falling or shifting. The transition happened in the margins of your attention, in the spaces between one breath and the next. What is beneath you now is cloud, dense and warm and giving, the way a very old mattress gives, one that has learned the particular topography of a body over many years and holds it now from memory. It is warm. This is the first thing and the last thing and the most important thing. It is warm. The warmth comes from below, from the cloud itself, which holds heat the way wool holds heat, not by generating it, but by refusing to let it go, by surrounding the body with its own warmth returned to it, amplified slightly, offered back with the generosity of something that has no use for what it keeps. Your back is fully supported. Every point of contact, your shoulders, your spine, the backs of your legs, is met with exactly the right resistance. Not hard, not soft to the point of sinking. The cloud holds you at the precise depth where the body stops compensating, stops making small adjustments, stops the constant minor work of maintaining itself against a surface that doesn't quite fit. It fits. Everything here fits. Your arms have fallen open, palms up slightly, or perhaps flat. It doesn't matter. They have found their own arrangement without your involvement, the way sleeping arms always do. And whatever arrangement they've found is correct because the body, when fully released, always finds the correct arrangement. You trust this. You have always trusted this, even when you forgot that you did. The lanterns are still there. You can see them or you are aware of them. The distinction between seeing and being aware has softened considerably in the last few minutes. They drift above you, amber and pale gold, moving in their slow consensual dance above the rooftops, above the cloud platform, out into the open sky. Their light falls across your closed eyelids, or nearly closed, or closed enough, in the gentlest way that light can fall across a face, not illuminating, not demanding, only present. A warmth on the surface of you that is different from the warmth beneath you, that comes from a different direction and carries a different quality, the quality of something that burns, because burning is what it does, without urgency, without agenda. The music is still playing. It is further away now, or you are further away from it. The distinction again has ceased to matter. The low stringed notes arrive at longer intervals, each one more distant than the last, as if the instrument is moving slowly through the village, rounding a corner, descending a stair, moving into rooms that put more walls between its sound and you. Or perhaps you are the one moving, drifting very slowly, in the way that the lanterns drift, with no particular direction and no particular concern about the lack of one. The notes arrive. They are beautiful. They are always beautiful. And they were always going to be beautiful. And the beauty of them is not something that requires your response. You don't need to feel moved. You don't need to hold them. They pass through the space above you and continue on, the way all sound continues, long after it has ceased to be audible, vibrating in the walls of things, in the wood of the buildings, in the deep layers of the clouds, at a frequency below hearing, felt rather than known. You feel it in your chest, in the wide, slow space between your ribs. The bamboo chimes sound once, far away, further than they have ever been, or you have drifted further from them, which is the same. The single tone rises and then does what all tones eventually do. It opens, it thins, it becomes the air that surrounds it. Not silence. The air here is never silent. There is always something in it, always the faint breath of wind, or the distant trace of music, or the small domestic sounds of a village settling into its own night. But the tone joins all of that and becomes indistinguishable from it, and then there is no chime, only the night air that once held a chime, which is nearly the same thing. Your breathing has become very slow. You are aware of this the way you are aware of your own heartbeat when you pay attention to it, not controlling it, only observing, the way you might watch a river from a bank. It moves. It has always moved. It will continue moving without your involvement. The breath comes in and the breath goes out, and between the going out and the coming in, there is a pause, small but real, a moment of pure suspension. neither one thing nor the other. A comma in the sentence of the body's continuous speech. You rest in the pause. The cat is somewhere nearby. You can't see it. Your eyes have settled now in the way that eyes settle when they are finished with seeing, when seeing is no longer the task, but you are aware of its presence the way you are aware of all the presences in this place, not clearly, not specifically, but as a warmth in the general warmth, a particularity in the general softness. It is here. It is comfortable. It requires nothing of you, and you require nothing of it. Two things, resting. The wind moves through. It is very gentle now, less wind than the memory of wind. The air disturbed by something that passed earlier and is still resolving itself back into stillness. It brings the cold flower smell with it, faint now, as faint as something can be while still being there. You breathe it in, your lungs receive it, your chest rises once, slowly, and then settles back. The lanterns above have dimmed. Not gone, only dimmed, the way everything dims when it is given enough time and enough evening. Their amber has deepened into something darker and warmer, something closer to the color of embers than of flames. They are still moving, still drifting in their slow private dance, but the motion has become so small, so gradual, that you would need to watch for a long time to be certain it was motion at all, and not simply the nature of light at that particular depth of amber. You are not watching for a long time. You are not watching. Something you were carrying today is gone. You noticed this without noticing when it happened, the way you notice, sometime in the middle of a warm afternoon, that a headache you had in the morning is no longer there, not resolved, not addressed, simply absent in the way that things become absent when the conditions that created them no longer exist, when you have moved far enough from the weather that produced them that they can no longer follow. What you are carrying now is only this: the warmth of the cloud beneath you, the distant music, the amber drift of the lanterns above, the smell of smoke and old wood that has become so familiar in the last hours that it no longer registers as a smell, but simply as here, as the texture of the air in a place that is yours tonight. Your hands are very heavy. They have been heavy all evening, growing heavier by degrees, but now the heaviness is complete. The comfortable terminal heaviness of hands that have finished their work for the day and have been given permission to rest. They rest. They are still. They are warm where they touch the cloud beneath them, and the cloud holds them with the same impartial faithfulness with which it holds all of you. The cloud holds you. It holds the weight of your shoulders, the weight of your hips, the weight of everything you brought with you to this place, the things you packed intentionally, and the things that came along without being asked, the accumulated density of a day, a week, a season of living. It holds all of it. It does not distinguish between what you meant to carry and what you didn't. It simply holds. It has always held you. You understand this now, not as an insight, not as something you will remember and think about later, as a feeling, as the feeling of being in contact with something that has been here longer than you have, that will be here after you, that holds you not as an act of choice, but as an expression of its nature. The way the ground holds, the way the floor holds, the way the oldest things hold, without announcement, without expectation of gratitude, simply and completely. The music has gone very quiet. One note, a long note, low, belonging to no particular instrument now, just a sound that is in the air, that the air is making, that the whole warm evening is vibrating at barely perceptibly, a frequency felt in the sternum more than heard in the ears. It holds, it holds, it holds, and then it is part of the silence. The lanterns above you are amber points in a field of soft dark. Your eyes, your breath. The cloud beneath you is very warm. Your body has stopped making any effort at all. There is no effort left in it. The effort has been slowly, carefully, piece by piece, returned to wherever effort goes when it is no longer needed, to the air, to the warmth, to the deep, patient substance of the cloud that is holding you so completely that holding and being held have become the same thing. The last lantern drifts, very slowly, its light reaching you from a great distance now, or the distance between you and all things has grown in the way distances grow in this threshold, gently, without drama, the world becoming more approximate, the edges of everything returning to the soft indistinction from which they began this evening. The smoke, the flowers, the low remaining warmth of the music in the walls, a door somewhere, already closed, the cat settled on its private inch of air, the well at the center of the village, its small clouds still turning. All of it is here, and all of it is very far away, and both of these things are true at the same time, and neither of them requires resolution. The cloud holds you. It has always held you. There is nothing left to do.